Hey folks, John Ferguson Smart here, and welcome back to our series on integrating Serenity BDD with BrowserStack. In this video, I want to show you how to run your tests on a real mobile device. Now, you might ask, why do you want to run your tests on a mobile device? Maybe you can use an emulator, maybe you can just trust that it works, but in fact, in many applications, the majority of your users will be using mobile devices to access your website, and running it on an emulator or just running it in a normal browser desktop context often has very different behavior to running on an actual mobile device. So there is a lot to be said for testing your application on a real device. The problem is, testing on a real device is a bit of a pain to set up. You actually have to physically have a real device, and not only one, you have to have a whole host of them to test different configurations. And so this is where platforms like BrowserStack really shine. So I'm going to show you how we can integrate BrowserStack and Serenity and make it just show you how easy it is to run your web tests in Serenity on a real mobile device. Now, before you get started, what I want you to do, if you've not done it already, is sign up for a free trial on BrowserStack just so you can follow along and see what this looks like in reality. It takes a couple of minutes. It really is very, very easy. So head on over to BrowserStack, click on the free trial, set yourself up an account, and then we will proceed from there. Now, once you've set up your trial BrowserStack account, you're going to need to go to the dashboard and grab the username and the access key and set them up in your environment variables. So here I've just set them up in my environment variables, which we'll see right here. So I've just defined a BrowserStack access key and a BrowserStack username. These are the conventional environment variables. If you set them up, then the Serenity integration with BrowserStack will work relatively seamlessly. I'll show you how that works in a minute, but it is important to do that. The other thing we are going to be using is the BrowserStack demo application, which you can find on GitHub here. It is the Serenity. I'll put a link in the video. It's actually a Serenity BrowserStack tutorial, which is actually derived from the standard Serenity To Do MVC demo application, which we use in all of this series. So again, I'll put all of these links in the description so you don't have to hunt around for them, but just to give you a bit of context. So now let's get to the meat of the action and actually see how you can go about setting up your tests to run on a mobile device. So here I've got the BrowserStack demo application with Serenity BDD. We can see it demos the To Do MVC application, which you're probably familiar with. To Do MVC. This one. So we are testing, I think, the Angular one. We're going to be testing this. We're going to be seeing what it does on a mobile device. So there are about 16 tests for this application that we're going to exercise. Now, where all the action happens is in this file called serenity.conf. This is where we set up our BrowserStack integration. First thing we do is we set up the remote URL, and we use those variables, BrowserStack username and BrowserStack access key, to set up the correct URL to access BrowserStack. And once we've done that, we can go ahead and define the BrowserStack capabilities. Now, by default here, I'm just running it against Chrome. So before we start, let's run this test once again and see what the tests look like when they run in Chrome. So I'm kicking off these tests. I won't run all of them. I'll just run a few of them just to give you the idea. And so we're kicking off our tests. These will be running remotely on BrowserStack. And if we head on over here, we might need to refresh the page a little bit. And what we'll see is a new batch of tests being run here. So this batch of tests, this build job, is now churning through the tests and running them one by one, and updating the status as we go. And if we go into the details, we'll be able to see the videos of what that was actually doing. So we can see, look at it opening a browser and interacting with the application and so forth. So that's cool, but now what we want to do is see how it works with a mobile device. And to do that, what we need to do is modify the capabilities, and we add a special section where we have all of the BrowserStack configuration options. So we call that section bstack.options:options. This is where all of our BrowserStack configuration options are stored, options with an S. And so this is where we can define the actual capabilities that we're interested in. So, for instance, we might want to run on an iPhone. In that case, we can simply say OS or device name. We want it to be, say, an iPhone 12. We want the OS version, let's say 14. And we want to specify, this is important, that we are actually running on a real device. So we define the real mobile option set to true. Now, if we do this, it will actually ignore this browser name, so we don't actually need that. So let's stop those tests, run this again, and see what it actually comes out as. Get rid of that. So now we're going to run this test again, and we're going to see what it does. So remember, all I've done is change the BrowserStack options and define the device, the OS, and the real mobile, setting that to true. Very important. Now, it's important that the device name and the OS version do match, and there's a page in the BrowserStack documentation which explains the available options that you can use. So if we go here now, we can see the device in the previous one. If you remember, the device was Chrome, Windows 10. Now the device is iPhone 12, iOS 14.7. And if we go and look at the video, we can actually see the mobile device being executed. So all we needed to do really is configure those BrowserStack options. Those BrowserStack options that we saw here, device name, OS version, and real mobile. And then we can run all of our tests against an actual real mobile device. Now, obviously here it's an iPhone, it could be an Android, could be Samsung, could be any device you want. There are hundreds of devices that you can use to test, and you can set up your test to run against multiple devices, with multiple configurations, which is something we'll be looking at in another video. But this is just a bit of a taster to show how easy it is to set up BrowserStack and mobile devices with Serenity. So hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, if you find these videos helpful, don't forget to click on the subscribe button underneath, and there'll be a lot more videos on integrating Serenity with BrowserStack on this channel in the future.